Welcome to the Landscaping Podcast. My name is Joel Barnett and I'm your host. And today's episode is another non-episode, but a little bit more than the actual non-episode last week. But I didn't, so there's no episode really this week, but I didn't want to do a zero post 2 weeks in a row. And also just to sort of give some background into why there's no episode this week. There was no episode last week purely because I didn't organise one. So I've mentioned it before that I've been a bit slack on getting guests, and I'd only ever had like I'd record on a Friday or Sunday, and it'd get posted that week. So I knew that was going to catch up with me, and it eventually did. So I just decided to not do an episode last week. I had some Q&A questions come in, which I've still got to answer to, but yeah, I just decided to not do one. And then I had two appointments booked for Friday just gone. So I was going to have one that would come out now, and then the other one for next week. So then I was going to be set. So I'd actually be ahead of the schedule. And then Wednesday night, I had some chest pains. So they were kind of like a 1 second pulse every sort of 3 to 5 minutes. So it went on for, I don't know, maybe half an hour. And I decided, because um, I remember hearing a lot about how important it is if you've got heart issues to get them checked as soon as possible. So I thought I was booking into the doctor for the next day. And then I decided I would just go into the hospital and save me going to for two reasons. One, to get it checked quicker. And that was also going to save me going to the doctor the next day because the appointment was going to be at 12 o'clock. So I went into the hospital and went into the emergency, and they just checked me out pretty quickly. And we're doing all the tests like ECG and blood pressure, and everything was all looking fine. And they took a blood test, and they said, go back out in the waiting room, and then once your blood test comes back, I'm sure everything will be fine. So then you'll be able to go home. And I think that was maybe at 9 o'clock on Wednesday night. But then the test came back and they took me back in and they said that they're going to be admitting me because they think I've had a heart attack. So there's a level that like there's a some sort of thing that they check in your blood, and when there's been damage to the heart, that level is more than zero. So I think it can be 0 to 40 is no problem. Mine was at 120, but an actual heart attack is like 400 plus and can go up into over 1,000. So it wasn't anything major. Like I felt fine apart from the pain pulse every now and then, but they stopped. I think they gave me aspirin and that made it stop. So I ended up getting booked into the hospital, and I was going to see the cardiologist the next day. So then again, sat in the waiting room till I think it was 2:15. I finally got into getting into a bed. And then that was in the emergency section as well. So there's like lights on, people walking past all the time, doors opening and closing. It was wild. And I was hooked up to all sorts of wires and machines, and had my blood pressure automatically taken every hour. So even if I did fall asleep, my arm would just start getting squeezed, have my blood pressure taken every hour. So that was not a great night, even for someone who sleeps as well as I do. So then, yeah, I was in for the full all day Thursday. And then on Friday, they got me in to have an angiogram and an echocardiogram. And basically everything is fine, but my heart is still showing that it's damaged. So must have been a girlfriend back in primary school or something that broke my heart. But but yeah, so they initially was thinking it was a heart attack, so they treated me like it was a heart attack. But it looks like it's not a heart attack, so I've still got to go back and do tests to find out what it is. But one of the reasons for doing this episode was to, um, one, not just do a post saying there's no episode again this week, just because then it sort of makes people think maybe I was going to stop doing the podcast, but also to just get people, if anyone ever has any chest pain, just to go to hospital, the sooner the better. Like there's some things you can wait till the next day, but you're better off being safe than sorry. So I think it's a good reminder for people to do that. And in a wild coincidence, my grandfather he's passed away for a while now. He would have been 102 if he was still going. So he passed away like 8 years ago. But I remember him having a lot of heart attacks, like my dad telling me that he did. Um, but he didn't have any while I was since I've been born. But he'd had 10 heart attacks and had a triple bypass. So I knew there was, yeah, I'd always sort of had that in my mind that, yeah, there might be heart issues down the track. But my dad's never had any. But I found out from my dad that his dad, my grandfather, had his first heart attack when he was the exact same age as what I am now, so 42. And it was on the semi-final week of the AFL finals, which is also this week as well. And yeah, that was just insane. Like I haven't had a heart attack, so it's not quite the same, but it was pretty wild to hear that and just how some things are crazy coincidences like that. So I've still got some tests to do and follow-up meetings to do over the next couple of weeks, but like I felt 100% fine when I went in, and I still do now. So it's a bit odd, but I'll still be kind of taking it a little bit easy rather than pushing a bit too hard, which is a challenge for me to do. But luckily, I've got some understanding clients that we just started a job for, so pretty grateful for that. Although I imagine you'd be a pretty tough person if someone says, I've had a heart attack, and then say, well, you need to finish the job. I don't care. So, but they are still, yeah, it's a good client we're working for at the moment. And yeah, that was also something I found I haven't appreciated until I've experienced it is the nurses and doctors and the health area, like being in the hospital. Like you hear a lot of people whinging about things about public hospitals, but it was pretty wild seeing how, like, I was pretty impressed with the way they operated. Like, particularly when I had the angiogram, like it was just crazy how quick it all went, and everyone was just moving quick, knowing what their role was, doing. There was hands going all over me everywhere, doing whatever they had to do. Um, I've also got one arm shaved and one arm not, so that's a pretty cool look if you jump on the YouTube for this section here. But and then the hole that they put the catheter through for the angiogram is just like it looks like a mozzie bite, like a mosquito bite now. So it's just wild what they can do, and that goes through your arm into like follows the blood vessel along to your heart and pump stuff in there, and it was a wild experience. But yeah, to be continued on whatever that is, but hopefully we'll find out. But I will definitely have an episode next week. And then I'm hoping to do either two or three this week coming, which is a good forced way to make me, you know, take it easy if I'm doing podcast episodes. But yeah, hopefully everything all goes back to normal next week, and then we'll just get back into doing a regular episode a week, and I'll stay out of hospital. So I'll look forward to that next week.